And to election matters now, it's less than 2 weeks to the governorship election in Anambra State. And the National Security Advisor has assured that adequate measures have been put in place to ensure the exercise is secure and peaceful. General BabaganaMonguno, while briefing the Independent National Electoral Commission, promised that law enforcement agencies will operate in accordance with the requirements of their profession during the November the 6th ballot. And Chairman of INEC Professor Mahmood Yakubu also disclosed that the Commission has accomplished 12 out of the 14 activities listed in the timetable and schedule of activities for the election. He added that the Commission is working with the National Peace Committee to bring all political parties and candidates to commit to peace before, during, and after the election.
Security. We have already done most of what we're supposed to do. All the law enforcement agencies, security agencies, etc., have been charged to conduct themselves in a manner that will command the general widespread respect of all the people of Anambra State and by extension the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The 2021 Anambra governorship election is holding in the next 12 days on 6 November 2021. Our deployment of non-sensitive materials and training of personnel for the election have virtually been concluded. The Commission has successfully accomplished 12 out of 14 activities listed in the timetable and schedule of activities for the election released in January this year. The 2 outstanding activities are the last day of campaign at midnight on Thursday, 4th November 2021, and Election Day, which remains Saturday, 6th November 2021.
And Chief Operating Officer Halogen Group Wale Adeagbo joins me to talk on security ahead of the governorship election. Good to have you join us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So this looks rather like a very complicated situation, because on the one hand, there is an IPOB sit-at-home order that has been ongoing in the southeast. And then there is one that has also been issued for this election. And then the government is saying, look, we are going to deploy security agents to ensure that this election is held. But here are the voters who are caught between these both words. How do you see this playing out in terms of the security of the process?
Thank you once again. I mean, it's commendable to see that INEC is putting a lot of systems in place. But one of the fundamental requirements of a situation like this, and is typically described as the black box syndrome, where voters' mistrust is increasing by the day, is to ensure one or two major things happen. One is that every single stakeholder must have been identified, political and non-political, and you ensure there's some strong dialogue within that particular environment that will lead to a peace agreement by all the parties. What I'm not sure is whether our security system, and alongside INEC and government statutory agencies, have achieved a substantial peace agreement across all parties. And what I hear about, which is somewhat worrying, is the security force leadership model used in the Philippines in 2010, where everything is driven majorly by force, as opposed to consensus, as opposed to deep engagement, as opposed to deep diving into developing visual maps of the locations, looking at the conflict history and conflict factors, identifying the threat actors and the threat profile of the state itself, and using some of this and some strong data to determine even the level of security infrastructure deployed to Anambra State for the 6th November election. So the whole approach is to be wholesome, and it needs to be bottom-up, and it needs to be stakeholder driven, as opposed to a top-down approach to dealing with a situation that is already has high level of tension, and that could potentially become much more tedious if it's not well managed.
And I want to say on that issue of security architecture, because one believes that, look, the sit at home could lead to voter apathy, But when you also over-militarize, in quotes, although we do not know whether military will be there, but it does look like there's going to be a huge deployment of security officers that might also scare or deter voters, which also leads to voter apathy. What sort of security architecture do you think that the government should put in place if they are to ensure voters come out to elect their next governor in Anambra State?
Thank you. I think that's actually my point. The starting point should not be, deploying security architecture. The starting point is the grassroots peace building is what you start to do. And if you look at the USAID framework around election security best practice, which has done a huge amount of work across the world in terms of different models and different experiences, even in Afghanistan. They've come up with some very good models that will assist us to think through how do we manage Anambra State with everything that is happening within that state itself. Of course, security is going to be quite important, but the key question is, have you started or have you done intensive grassroots peace building? Have you been able to get all the stakeholders around the table to have a peaceful agreement signed up by all, where their interests are catered for? Have you even looked at the supply side of electoral funding, and where is the resources coming from to fund all the parties, both political and non-political, to ensure that they thrive, and also to ensure that they're not funding negatively. So a mapping of the environment is really, really important. A good understanding of the state itself is absolutely important. Because, like I said, the issue in Anambra State is, of course, security imperative is implied.
Yeah,
but what we have is voter apathy, as you mentioned.
Absolutely, it is a complex. It is a complex security situation. Either ways, it does lead to voter apathy. So government has to figure out how to ensure that voters come out, vote, and are safe as well. Thank you so much for talking to us, Chief Operating Officer Halogene Group, Wale Adeagu.
Thank you for having me.